Welcome to another episode of Mind Movers. Today we've got the incredible Dr. Onkar. Dr. Onkar is a trailblazer within the young dental community. The one thing that I remember about Onkar is that he was a very keen young dentist, and even when he was studying, he actively went out there to the social media dentist and said, can I do work experience? Can I learn from you? Onkar has taken the social media world by storm. He has amassed 50,000 followers on TikTok, but importantly, a huge amount of engagement. He is known and loved by a lot of people in the public, mainly talking about his experiences working on the NHS and what happens as a dental student. Onkar has been keen to also share his experience of his own mental health and burnout within this. He works in hospital, in practice, and also does facial aesthetics. So welcome, Onkar.
I need that intro recorded
in your life every
in my
day?
life every
cool,
day
yeah, every
to
day.
hype me up when I feel crap about myself.
Amazing.
Thank
I
you.
love that. I'll record it and send it to you.
Thanks for having me, both of you. Really appreciate
Pleasure.
it.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Amazing. Okay, so Onkar, you graduated in 2019, right?
Yeah, 5 years ago now. Yeah.
Wow, that makes you like, I graduated in 2010, so that's kind of like mental for me to process. So let's have a little bit of a start from the beginning. Right. Where did you grow up? How did you get into dentistry?
Okay, so I grew up in Essex, like Essex boy through and through. I
don't have the accent.
I'm quite well spoken. I thank my parents for that. For primary school, that was good.
Yeah.
They told us not to drop our T's and actually speak properly. So I did primary school there, secondary school there, and then when I was
where in Essex?
So Barkingside and like Gants Hill, all of that area, and then moved over to like Hornchurch, which is like deep Essex, like Towie land.
Yeah.
So I went from like very multicultural Essex to Towie, and I was like, this is very different. Yeah. So it was there throughout secondary school, and then throughout secondary school, I think like all of us, maybe, I was a bit of a skiver. Like I was very good at working under pressure. So I would piss around in lessons. I was a bit of a class clown, like a bit of a joker. And I would end up, you know, doing really badly throughout the whole school year. And then at the end of term, smashing all my exams. So that trend kept happening for, 3 years. And then I got to my GCSE year and that did not happen. And I bombed everything, yeah? So that's kind of where my passion for dentistry began, because at that point was when I was like, I want to do dentistry or medicine. I'd failed and bombed all of these internal exams, and now all of the teachers at school and the careers advisors said, you can't do it. We're going to put you into bottom set for everything. And back in those, like, it's like 2010 for GCSEs, if you were bottom set or you were like foundation set, you couldn't apply for those kinds of degrees. I think things have changed a bit now, but all those things were like a big barrier. And then, yeah, that's kind of that initial sort of inspiration was from wanting to prove teachers wrong, if that makes sense.
So then what happened? How did you then get into do the grades that you needed to get? I
honestly, like what happened, if it's like kind of a bit dental, I didn't revise for those exams because I had an exposed and bond and some infra-occluded E's that I had to have extracted under GA.
Yeah. So
I was in the hospital, I was back and forth between orthodontists, I just didn't revise. So that's why I bombed the exams. I told the teachers and stuff, like, I'll prove you all wrong. They kept me in bottom sets. They were like, you need to get these grades. And if you don't, we're still going to keep you in those bottom sets. Got the grades. My parents came in, ethnic parents. They came in one day, fought my case for me. They were like, we need him to, we really want him. He wants to pursue this. Like, why are you holding him back, So we had this like 40-minute meeting. I remember the physics teacher was like to me, you'll never get into dental school, medical school. Like, it's never going to happen for you. So stop. I was like, I'm going to prove you wrong, yeah.
I think it's dangerous, Payman and I often talk about the educational system. It's just such an old system. I feel like, why are they still teaching Pythagoras' theorem, like in school, when we don't learn about subjects that will do something for our lives and our benefit?
Exactly.
And I also feel that there is such a lack of understanding for different types of brains. I think your children are very academic, naturally, I understand, but I forgot to tell you, last week I went for an assessment and I officially have ADHD.
Diagnosed.
Oh.
It's not a surprise.
Oh my
not surprising.
God, yeah.
Me too, by the way.
How do you know? Did you get a proper assessment?
No.
Exactly. So I had a proper assessment with a psychiatrist and she was like, not even on the spectrum, like I'm fully in, right? I've got it. And
does it make you feel better?
I think somewhat, but my therapist had always said that she thought I had a very neurodivergent brain.
Fine.
And my partner was very much like, I feel like too many people are being overdiagnosed, incorrect labels, and
what
using
my
it
wife
as,
says as well.
and he also said he blames on social media and phones, because like if you take it away now, and also I think there's two schools of thoughts. The old school psychiatrists think it's very much a childhood disease and people can grow out of it. And obviously, when I used to think of ADHD as a child, it was the child that was like climbing up the walls. You remember those ones that were just could not sit still, was super naughty. I wasn't that child, but I definitely think I've got a neurodivergent brain, in the sense that teachers said I wouldn't get anywhere. I flopped all of my exams. But the one thing that I had to do was hyper focus and get loads of support. So because I went to a private school and was privileged to do so, I sought support from the teachers. I hyper focused on the stuff that I was good at, but self-directed learning or anything like that could not do. It was like the way that my brain would memorize things. So I got 100% in my English literature paper, but that's because I'd written out the Desdemona from Othello. I'd written out that same essay 25 million times. So when it came up in the A-levels, I just did that. It wasn't necessarily regurgitated it pretty much. So obviously she said I have the type of brain, which is the misconception that I know how to cope. It's not like it's debilitating. Again, with my practice, people say, how can you do a podcast? How can you run a practice? How can you do all these things? You must be so busy. I'm like, no, it's because I have a huge support network in front of me. Like, Payman sorts out all the editing to the podcast. I bring the guests and do the creative stuff. My practice is pretty much run by people that I've employed. So...
Are you saying you also have?
I feel like I'm self-diagnosed, but who isn't? I've always felt scatty, and like I feel like I like the way my brain works though. I enjoy that it's crazy in there. And that's why I wanted to prove people wrong and prove teachers wrong, because, you know, a lot of people know this. My dad's a dentist and he's always been a big inspiration to me, and he still works. He's in his 60s. He's kind of like your dad right now, where they have passion for their job. And I think, unfortunately, there's this stupid label now of like Nepo baby, like your dad got you into dental school. No, he didn't. Did my dad do my A-levels for me? He did not. Did my dad do my dental school exams? No. In fact, when my dad went to dental school in the 70s, I think it was a bit harder. When your dad went to medical school, it was harder. There was more exams. I'm pretty sure it was more rigorous. Still difficult now, but that label annoys me. And I had that throughout school as well as uni. People were like, your dad's a dentist. You must have it so lucky. In fact, someone was like, he's so lucky he has his dad because he can go home and talk about cases. I'm not chatting to my dad about work when I go home. I don't.
Well, I mean,
Payman feels quite strongly about this whole Nepo baby thing.
Well, no.
No, in the sense that you think it's really unfair that people.
I think it's unfair, but you've got to acknowledge that there is some advantage in having a dad who's a dentist.
For me, I'm blessed to have his expertise in my back pocket. But I don't like the insinuation of he got me into dental school.
Of course.
I think that irritated me because I flopped my A-levels again. I gap yeared. I had 4 rejections and then went to 4 offers. Like, I went through it in my gap year on my own, like 18. All my mates had gone to uni. One other person took a gap year with me.
What did you do on your gap year?
So I had to reset my A-levels, right?
So you just studied the whole of the gap year?
I resat chemistry, I resat geography. I worked like 3 different jobs because I knew it's a 5-year degree. I want to save up some money. And I did a little bit of traveling around Europe. Nothing crazy. I didn't find myself on like a mountain somewhere. I wish I did. I honestly wish I did.
Me too. I wish I did.
And I wish I didn't have to resit those exams, you know. I remember my mates and my mum telling me, like my mum especially was like, work hard, like smash those exams, enjoy that whole year because you'll never have that again. And I was like, nah mum, it'll be fine, like I'll be fine. But A-levels are hard. I think certain elements of A-levels are probably harder than dental school for me. And when I saw those grades and I was like, it's not even a flop. Like 2 A's and 2 B's is not a flop to the general public, but to people who are high achievers or need like 3 A stars or whatever, you're like, I flopped. And then that's when you kind of go whoosh and you think, I've messed this up now, you know? So I think that was really important. I needed that. And because the GCSEs, I didn't have that because I bounced back. A-levels was my first taste of failure. B's aren't a failure, but for me, I was like, oh my God, adult life. And I remember like I bought that, is it The Guardian or The Times that has the clearing list in the newspaper? And you read the offers and I was highlighting things. I remember medicine was in clearing and I was like, do I do it? Do I ring like Liverpool Uni and go for medicine and like move? Or do I stick to my guns and actually pursue that dental school dream? And I'm glad I did.
What did your parents say? What did they encourage you to do?
My dad is honestly like, he always said to me like, do what you want to do. The reason why he drew me towards dentistry is because every day he came home was a good day. I've never heard that man talk badly about dentistry. Yeah, he loves people, he loves his job, he comes home and he talks about it with passion. Yeah, and I was like, it can't be that bad. Like, it can't be that bad if he loves his job. Yeah. On the other side, we've all got medical friends and family and complete other industries, and I never heard people talk about their jobs that way. Yeah. I shadowed in hospitals, GP practices, banks, like everywhere that I could, as far as going to like restaurants and looking into like being a chef. And I was like, I don't know. I actually don't know. And sometimes I still don't know if I'm doing the right thing, like shock bombshell. Still don't know if dentistry is like something I'll do forever.
Well, you're very early on. You're very early on.
5 years makes like 5 years post-grad.
It's very early on. But I mean, where did you study?
King's.
And how did you take to university?
I loved uni. Like I loved the social element of uni. I think we're all like, I love just people and like being around people. And for uni, having that gap year and having like 2 friends and being a little bit low, going to a year of like 140 people your age, new social network,
London.
So much fun. London, I love London. I'm from London. I was stuck between London and Leeds. I know Leeds is your alma mater, right? They were my 2 top unis, and I had 2 offers from them and other unis, and it was nice because I had 4 rejections that year before. So I was like, I've got options now, yeah, pending my A-levels. But that year of my gap year, like, it was special. Like, I knew I'd get in. Like, my exams all went well, all my revision material went well, like all those entrance exams.
Did it change you when you became a more serious studier at that point, or still no?
I knew there was more like stuff. There was basically more on the table. Like, if I didn't get in a second time round as a resit offer holder, there was no chance I'd get in a third time round.
Yeah, but going forward in King's, were you much more serious then?
I think yes and no. I became more serious at the start of my first year. I was definitely more serious, but I was implementing the wrong things. So whether this is ADHD brain or whatever, I was trying to work like an A-level student in uni, and that method didn't work. Like, writing pretty notes and trying to memorize things was not working. So then I almost failed first year. And then I was like, shit, something's not right here. Like, this is not the way I need to go moving forward. Like, you're passing exams by 1%, skin of your teeth. Yeah. Pardon the pun. Yeah. And then second year as well, like, passed one exam well, and the other exam was like, again, 51%. And I was like, what is happening? And then like literally uni, when I failed that exam, I failed an exam in first year uni, which didn't count. It was like a middle of the year hurdle. And they called me in for a meeting and they were like, you're revising, like, because your first exam was 51 and this exam was 49. Like, you're basically averaging effect, like, a fail. Like, are you studying? I was like, of course I'm studying. Like, this is how I work. They're like, something's not right. Like, the way you're working is not right. But I think they just thought I was a party animal, which was definitely not the case. I honestly was putting in the hours, but it was not right. Then it all changed in my third year of dental school when I realised how I actually work. And I've used that method ever since. And now photographic memory.
The thing is, the educational system is so flawed because I knew how I worked really well, and going from a kid that was told that they'd never make anything of their lives and just might be good at drama to smashing my A-levels, getting a scholarship, etc. And then getting into dental school, I really hated the philosophy of, first of all, you're with the most intelligent people in the country. Just aim to pass. That's what they told you. And like, I found that just so demeaning. You know, you have gone to school to being like, I'm going to get 4 A's to just pass. And they made everything so difficult and so impossible. I just don't think it's actually a very encouraging way of thinking. And I don't think it's very helpful to the students. And I think it has a massive impact on their self-esteem and their self-confidence. So it's a flawed system, in my opinion.
Agreed.
Completely. I mean, how would you change it?
I think we need to account for the fact that people work in different ways. I have no idea, but I think we have not reviewed the systems in school and university for centuries. It's madness. You know why?
So, you know, Elon Musk talks about school should be streamed by subject.
Explain.
So you could be a 12-year-old in a class with a 17-year-old in physics.
Because you're amazing at physics.
You progressed in physics. But you could be in a class with a 7-year-old in English. You know, so you don't just go up because of your age. different subjects.
Yeah.
I agree with that to some extent, yeah. Because
But that's a bit like getting a university degree, right? Because then you go to university and you refine what you're good at.
If you really are good at something, you should progress, you know, and it shouldn't just be age-based, you know. It's well, that's one idea. Now, I was asking someone, what would you do to the dental course? Because there's a lot of the dental course that you never use.
Jesus, Krebs cycle.
Krebs
Bloody hell.
Yeah, all
Right.
of that,
Krebs
honestly,
cycles.
But bearing in mind, some dentists go on to, you know, develop drugs, and so they need to know, you know, so there is that. There's other important bits of dentistry that don't get covered at all, right? No implants, no ortho, no whitening for the sake of the argument. And so what would you take out? And I said I would take out full dentures.
Yeah.
But then I interviewed a guy...
Rupert.
Well, I interviewed a guy the day before yesterday. Actually, it came out today.
Yeah.
And he's a super duper prosthodontist, the youngest ever specialist in Ireland, head of the Irish Dental Association. And I said to him, what was your aha moment when you think of occlusion? And he said that full dentures are the key to everything. That's where smile design came from. That's where all the occlusion stuff came from. And so you suddenly realize that, you know, that me saying take full dentures out, this guy was saying it's everything.
Okay, maybe it's not about taking the stuff out. Maybe it's about adding it in, because why aren't we learning about tax?
You can't just
That's what I
add.
was going to say. Why don't we learn about tax at school?
Accounts.
Opening an ISA, like saving money.
Getting a mortgage.
Getting
Get
a
a mortgage.
Like how
But that should be school.
That should be school, but like even like the dumbest things of like getting a credit card. Like no one teaches you how to build your credit rating in school. Like why do we learn Pi?
Whether to become a limited company, all this
you know,
stuff.
That should be school.
That should be school.
I think school should teach you more important life lessons. I think it'd be very hard for a dental school to tailor the teaching towards every different individual personality type.
Yeah.
I've now gone back there and I teach there, right? So
Oh, do
I'm
you?
back at my uni.
What do you teach?
So it's like dental emergencies, acute dental care, oral surgery, and all of that. And like,
so when you graduated,
Yes.
let's
Let's-
rewind a
yeah.
little bit. So you graduated, and then where did you do VT?
foundation training at Essex, again, like deep Essex, Brentwood.
Did you hate it? Love it?
It was really good until obviously we had the pandemic, which feels like a fever dream. And I think like, you know, it was an awful time, but it was at that time where I was getting confident with stuff, and then it was almost like and everything was like locked down again. And there's pros and cons to everything, but that's when I was really enjoying practice. I was feeling really confident, and then you're kind of sat at home, you're on the phones, and there's worse things that happen in COVID and people lost their lives, so I'm not complaining about that. But it's, you know, it was a really pinnacle moment for me, because I was like, maybe I should try other options. And that's when I started looking at hospital jobs. So then I did 2 years of oral surgery, like max facts.
How did you two feel the first time you got into your VT clinic?
Horrendous.
I couldn't believe it, man. I couldn't believe that all of that was for this.
No, but
Yeah.
mine was horrendous because I was humiliated. I was
I'm
somebody...
a brilliant boss, but still the
No,
idea that this is what
but I'll tell
dentistry
you why I
is.
was so humiliated, because I basically didn't get in, so I put
VT?
myself... So what happened was, I made this decision for VT. I was like, I want to go back down south. Like, I'm not happy up north. Leeds complete, done. 5 years at Leeds. I want to go back home. I want to be home. But I'd made the active decision that I don't want to be London, because I heard the practices in London were really bad. So I thought Kent, Surrey, Sussex seems like the logical thing to do. And then I realised, and I think it's different from when you were doing it, it was so political, because you go for interviews and realise that people gave people jobs because they knew someone or knew someone's brother or sister or friend or whatever. And I had no contacts in the dental world. So I dragged myself through these interviews, rejection. So then I went a step further and I applied to another deanery altogether. Everyone else had pretty much had an offer. I was the only person in my year that didn't have an offer. Felt like such a failure. I literally applied to everything. I was like, I do not want to work in Norfolk. I do not want to work in Norfolk.
What was the reason? Do you think you were bad at interviews?
I think, no, the thing is this is the crazy thing. Like, I'd like to think that, you know, interpersonal skills and speaking is my strong suit, but it was weird. Like, I remember having a job interview at Stevenage, and they were like, and it was like a really NHS practice, and I think they had a lot of like community work type dentistry, and they were like, you're too good pretty much for this job. That's what they said to me. And then I go, okay, fine. And then I wanted to be at some practices in Essex, and you know, they were kind of like two Asian lads that always like had like Asian it was really hard, and I would do everything. I would drag myself all over the country, and it was demeaning. And then eventually one practice in Kent, I think they only had 2 applicants, because at this point you can apply for as many practices as you want.
Did it have a rep at this point? Did you know this practice had a rep?
No,
Did you know
I just literally was like, this is a practice in Kent, and they had 2 people. They rejected one person, and they accepted me, but I barely got in pretty much. And then was it an awful practice? No, it was in a little village in Kent. It was, you know, little town, what a quiet village, you know, like from Beauty and the Beast, you know, that's how it looked. And I ended up meeting in my VT Luke Athwal, who works for me now in my practice. And Luke basically was the one that inspired me, because he was working with a boss that took him to all these different courses. I was the one that was inspired. If I had stayed in this practice, the little village practice, I would have just been drill, fill, pay the bill kind of dentistry. It was like that. My boss was nice. She let me do stuff, and I won like the best VT case presentation because I was always keen, but it was a very underwhelming experience.
What about you?
Mine was, do you know what? I can't lie. Mine was opposite to Rhona. I wanted that practice. I ranked quite well. I got that practice. And I was like, you know, one of 3 foundation trainees with massive, huge surgeries, like 14 chairs in one practice, big corporate vibes, you know, literally day 1, nothing. Day 2, like you're seeing 4 patients. Day 3, they're like, we want bonding. Like there was cosmetic demand in Essex. And I was like, I'm a DFT, like how am I going to be doing up Dr. Rhona veneers on my first day? I can't do this. So that really made me realize like managing expectations was big. My Essex patients that I had there, they had high expectations. So I learned that from that practice. It wasn't the most glamorous. It was a bit rundown. It was primarily NHS, but it taught me a lot, which was people skills, working with a team of like 50 staff in the practice every day, but then also practice politics. I've never had that before, you know. This person said this, and I was like, I don't need that. Like I literally want to come to work, do my thing, go home, you know. And it was good. Did I love it? No. Did I actually want to be there every day? No. But did it teach me what I didn't want from a practice? Yes. So there was a positive to it.
But before you went there, you'd obviously been influenced by a lot of Instagram dentists. So was that overwhelming that you couldn't do the type of work as someone that was newly qualified, or the work that you were seeing on Instagram?
Yeah. I think what it was for me was like, when you're, you know, fresh out of uni, you're expected to do everything. So like, you know, we had like associates in there. It was like send patient to VT, you know. It was like a mouthful of decay, like 9 root canals, and you're like, it's taken me a whole year to do this case, you know. And I'm like, I don't want to do it. Like, I actually want to focus on things that I enjoy, like surgery and cosmetics. But you again, it's the same thing. It's the system doesn't allow you to develop those skills that early on, and it's fine. There's a curriculum which you have to stick to, but there's no flexibility from that curriculum. Like I had a mate who failed DFT because they didn't fit a Maryland bridge. It's like, why? But the person's shown competencies on everything else. They brought this boy back to fit a bridge in August. Like, do you know what I mean?
Were
you doing social media at this point or not?
I was. So that's how my social media started, Payman. I was like...
During lockdown, right?
Prior to. So like basically what happened was that when I was in 5th year dental school, I kept seeing like junior doctor F1 vloggers, junior doctor, junior F1, F2, and YouTubers. And I'm like, why is there no foundation dentist doing this? Like I knew of you, I knew of yourself, I knew of George, the dentist, and people that you know. But I was like, why is there no VT doing this, right? So that was my niche. And I thought, let me go on to that niche because no one's doing it and I'll do it. And that is just how it unfolded. It was like days in the life, posting small clinical cases, then posting little videos. And then it just took off from DFT.
So, Onkar, I've got a very important question around this subject, right?
Yes.
We do a composite course. We ask always with the marketing section.
Yes.
And we say, put your hand up if you've got a dental account. And there's 30 people who've paid, you know, £1,500 to come on a composite course. Yeah. Composite course. It's not a surgery course. And in the room of 30, generally there'll be 6 or 7.
Okay. No way.
Only. A dental account.
Only.
Yeah. And the other... And
do you ask them why they don't have it?
Yeah, exactly. And
why?
The most common thing is they're scared to show their work because they're worried about what other dentists will think of it.
Other dentists are the worst.
They haven't got time, is like the normal excuses. Or my account, you know, my family account, I can't handle 2 accounts. You know, but basically, this is the question I'm going to ask you. How come you didn't have these hurdles?
Imposter syndrome.
Or did you, and how did you get over it?
At that point, I was like, I don't really care. I'm gonna put myself out there because realistically,
were you not worried what Dr.
Hold on,
Dr. Rona's going to think about your
because I'm going to tell you.
I never
I
thought
might
that.
argue how old are the age group that say they're scared of being judged by the dentist? Because I feel the younger ones.
They're young.
No, but I feel like the younger ones are more ready to put themselves out there.
MSM is full of young dentists trying to get private jobs.
So they're not the people like in their 30s, 40s?
No, they're all young dentists trying to get jobs.
I mean, I've always been a bit extrovert. I've always liked not being the center of attention. Like that's not like I'm not an attention whore, but like I've always enjoyed like. You know, in uni, I was part of the comedy show, the dental comedy show. Okay. I, used to do all these things. I'm not scared to put myself out there. People are always going to talk, whether you do bad or good. Like dentists and colleagues, unfortunately, will talk, whether it's good or bad. So for me, I was like, I don't want to post teeth on my personal account. I've got family and friends on there that don't care about teeth. In fact, my friends were unfollowing me, so like we don't want to see grotty extractions on our personal page. They were like, we'll refollow you when you open your own doctor account. So that's actually also what I did, because my sister and stuff was like, we don't want to see that. We're not dentists. And again, I'd be on my personal Instagram and it'd be all teeth. I'd lost all my friends and family on my following list, that every time I'd open my phone, my suggested page was this. Teeth, and I was like, no, I want to separate that. So that's where the doctor account came from. It just came from wanting to make I think like a good way for me to put it is, it's very easy in dental school, and I see this now with the students that we teach now that I've gone back, to aspire to be great. It's great to have that aspiration, but where's that journey to get to that greatness? Yeah, like no one leaves uni and is great at everything. It takes time. Like you said to me, 5 years is still a recent grad. I feel like 5 years I've been through the tracks, like I've done a lot, but I agree, it's not that much time, right? I didn't think there was anyone showcasing that young journey all the way up to that. And I think you can aspire to be great and compare, but comparison can be the thief of joy. And you can be like, why am I not as good as Dentist X? Dentist X is 25 years post-grad.
Yeah, so I for me, it comes down to, are you documenting your journey?
Yeah.
Yeah, and that mindset, because I've seen several day one dental school hosting.
Yeah, but I think,
and that's amazing.
But I think, like, look, I got asked to I got asked to speak at Joe Lovett's event on Saturday.
Oh, by the way, I heard you did a great job.
Who told you?
Friends.
Who's friends? Tell me.
Friends who were there. People who were there.
You don't have any friends. Tell me who.
I don't have any friends.
No, I saw great reviews for you actually.
Really? Who told me?
All over
Flatter
Instagram.
me, yalla, tell me.
All over Instagram. I saw good reviews. There was a lot of good reviews.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, like for me, I have massive imposter syndrome, so. But I find it really amazing that a lot of young dentists understand me, is what I mean, because the thing is that I always found that a lot of dentists my age and older troll me or like don't get me.
100%.
So I find it so amazing meeting these young dentists. And even Payman said when we started Mind Movers, so many of the young dentists came up to him, and it was really amazing for us to hear that, because we know that we're making an impact, bringing these conversations to the forefront. And I think the thing is, like, there are the incredibly talented, like George the dentist. I'm not that dentist. Same. And I never pretend to be that dentist, because my dentistry is good and my patients are at the forefront of my page. Yeah. And I think that's when you really recognise. I had dinner at the Invisalign Live on Friday. This is going to make both of you laugh.
Okay.
And I sat next to a dentist, I'm not going to say. And I'd say he does pretty good clinical work. Like he's up there. Okay. But he told me he got a 2-page message. He showed me, because I was beside myself, from one of the rubber dam crowd, basically completely ripping him apart for like his molar and like, did you use this? What was your cavity prep like? Why wasn't this? Like, what are you doing? You shouldn't, where's the rubber dam picture? Do you know what I mean? I was like, oh my gosh, people have that much time on their hands. We're not at university, like if he wants to put a before and after of his molar, let the boy put it.
I think I would say it's not that deep, but to some people it is that deep. And that's when it comes to thinking like, do you know what? Actually, there's more to life than teeth. Yeah. And I think, but for some people, it's the epicenter of their universe is that. And I think like this is why I wanted to separate work Instagrams and clinical Instagrams, because I'm like you. I think the reason why, like going back to the convo of like, you have a lot of young dentists look up to you is because you keep it real on socials. I've always felt like you kept it real, and I've followed you since I've been in dental school. But I think you keep it real, and I don't feel like when you're on Insta, you're playing a fake character. It's actually Rhona talking to the camera, and that's what I want to do. And it's like students meet me now at uni when I'm teaching, and you know, dentists my age, and like you're at events, they're like, you're like you are on Instagram. Because like, I'm not pretending to be someone. Like I'm just being me.
Actually, you're even cooler in real life. I'm just telling you now. I'm just telling. But I want to know.
Is this the first time you guys have met?
Yeah,
in real life?
Yeah, in real life. Yeah,
but Onkar, tell me one thing though. Why did you? And I'd be interested to know why did you choose TikTok as your platform to blow up?
You know what? I always liked Insta, but TikTok happened by itself. I literally, honestly, I posted a video one lunchtime. I put my phone down.
Was it Turkey?
It was about jaw trainers.
Yeah,
like
fine.
those rubber things that you chew on. Yeah. I literally remember making a video in lunchtime. I put my phone down for 20 minutes. I opened my phone, and I was in a hospital job at this point that had a no social media policy. So they were like, you can't post, you can't have TikToks, you can't have Instagram. Because there was something that happened the year before me in this hospital. And I was like, I hope no one ever finds this TikTok page. And I was trusted to be that video that I filmed in a clinical room, in the hospital. But no one was there. It was just me in the room with a white wall, But, you know, I'm wearing my NHS lanyard at this point.
Did you get in trouble?
Well, 20 minutes later, it had 30,000 views.
But what happened at the university, the hospital?
All the dental nurses that work in the hospital found the video. They forwarded it to each other in the dental nurse group chat in that hospital. Nobody pulled me up. I actually went to the consultant and I was like, look, I do social media. This has happened. Like, this is my phone. This is me. You can't, there's no data anywhere. It's just me in the clinic room. And they were like, it is what it is. As long as you don't breach rules and you're not, but I was so nervous. That video got like 8 million views or something, and then that just snowballed. And I was like, oh god, I could do something with this. As you know, as long as I don't take everything to heart and every bad comment to heart, I could do something with this.
I think what's amazing about TikTok that you probably hate the fact, right? Not hate, but with TikTok you don't need followers to get views. You know, Instagram's turning that way too.
I think that TikTok is much better for my mental health than Instagram is.
Right, but what I'm saying is you've put in this 10 years of work into Instagram, and
I can't grow, and on TikTok I've grown in a year.
Right. Okay. Perfect. You love
that's why I love it.
Right.
I'm like Instagram is really annoying because Instagram will favor those people that have grown back in the day. So I have a friend of mine, millions of followers. She posts, I'm not joking, on rotation, the 3 same stories. Thousands of likes, millions of likes. If I posted the same stuff, I wouldn't get that because she grew it in 2012, whenever Instagram started. You see what I mean?
When did you grow it?
Oh, I started Instagram in 2016, 15, 16.
Oh, is that it?
Yeah. So, you know...
TikTok's the heroine of social media. I mean, it's so addictive.
But there's that theory, right, that the new generation have a 10-second attention span because it's all swipe. And I feel like it's true. Like, we are so addicted to swiping that we actually don't want to pay attention to anything long enough. And then that's why everyone's now been diagnosed with certain neurodivergences, because we're also addicted to a quick burst of dopamine, right? Which is also what I read in a book recently, which is Dopamine.
Yeah, I've read it. It's amazing. Payman, you need to read it.
Such a good
Dopamine
book.
Nation.
Dopamine Nation is incredible.
Amazing. Best book.
And it talks about all of our attention spans and how we just want instant gratification. It's like
always want to be on a high. Always.
And it was like an incredible book.
Yeah,
for me.
I mean, I'm in it for the dopamine.
Yeah,
for sure,
100%.
But I'm in it maybe 30 times a day. At the same time, we sit for 2 hours and talk like this.
I prefer this though. Like,
I think, you know, so you won't even believe this. I went on this retreat called the Body Camp last week. Did you see?
I saw that. How was that?
And it was absolutely incredible. I recommend it to anyone and everyone. I was a bit dubious first because, like, what do we do? Just boot camp for like the whole day. But what they did was, it was so cleverly set up. You know, they had these like pillars of health. When we got there, you know, you get up at 6 a.m, okay, and they make you wear fancy dress first thing in the morning, and you have to dance to an 80s song, and you're like, what the actual F is this? Yeah, exactly. Can you imagine? Just wait for it. I'll tell you why in a second. And you had to do that every single day. And by day 4 or 5, you're actually having fun. You're putting on your like mask, and you're like, woo. And then they make you put your phones away until the afternoon if you want to take it, and you get more points if you don't touch your phone. So then you do 4 hours of exercise in the morning. So you do like an hour and a half, then you have breakfast, then you do another workout, and everything's about like teams working together, all these kinds of things. And you meet really interesting people. They also, every single meal for every single day of that week, you sit next to a new person every single day. So you're always split up. So you know everybody in the entire group. And then they did like mindfulness, gratitude, all that stuff. They even made us write a letter to ourselves in the future. So it would be me in 6 months being like, it's been 6 months since the body camp, and they give you like structures, and now they're going to post them to us in 6 months. I can't even remember what I wrote.
You wrote, yeah.
Now you might say to me like, what is this up? But every single person who had stories, trauma, felt amazing after that week. And it was so basic, the principles, but we forget it all. We forget it. And you might say, what was that? The whole point of the dressing up thing, and you're just like, oh, what the fuck is this? Why are they made? We take life so seriously, man. We take it so seriously. So when you're there, like, they're literally making you wave around to like ABBA or something in this outfit at 6 o'clock in the morning, like, why do we wake up so serious in the morning? Do you know what I mean? Have a bit of fun first thing in the morning.
I think
so. It was really interesting, but like, I spent, guess what my daily average was on my phone for that whole week?
Probably like 8 minutes.
13 minutes.
I love that.
Me.
I love that.
13 minutes. And you know what my best friend said to me, that also is a therapist, that said Rhona's definitely ADHD? Do you know what she said to me? She said to me, you're actually so present and so engaging when you ask people questions and their stories. Because guess what? I had no distractions. I was genuinely interested in everything going around me.
What's your screen time
now? What have you gone back
Probably
to
8
now?
hours.
Is it back to 8 after the retreat?
Yeah, I'm going to look now.
Yeah, check.
8 hours a day.
What's
Something
yours?
like that.
I'm going to check.
Mine's about 5, 4. But see, I don't know, if you listen to a podcast, does it count that as screen time?
No, that's not screen time. Unless you're watching a podcast, like a video podcast. Like yesterday I was...
6 hours so far today.
Yeah, my average is about 5.5 to 4.5, depending on the day. If you're filming content, it's like 8-10 hours a day.
And then you start engaging with the content, because you have to do the likes and the comments. And okay, I want you to tell me though, so you rose to TikTok fame quite quickly.
Yes.
And
can we call it TikTok fame?
Yeah, I really think it is. I mean, you've had like, what is it, 23 million views on one video, or is it 5 million, something like that?
10
million
combined.
What was it about?
The jaw trainer. Every viral video I've done has been on like something that I reckon like was a good message behind it, you know. So like,
well, I think the one that interests me the most viral video I saw recently, which I want you to shed light on, was about glamorizing dental school.
Oh yeah, that went well.
So let's talk about that.
Let's talk about it.
So tell me what you meant by that. How are people glamorizing dental school, and why do you think that's detrimental?
I just think, like, I said it because I was tired after a long day of work, and I was like, I look like shit. Like, I've got tooth juice all over me, like my hair's a mess, and I'm on TikTok, and the first thing I see is like, come with me to place a composite veneer at dental school. And they show this lovely view from Guy's Hospital. Example, disclaimer, it's just because it's got the best view in London. And, you know, you then are seeing these lovely scrubs and beautiful white trainers and these polished individuals. And they make it out to be like they went to uni to do one plastic composite veneer, and they went to the library, got a coffee, sat in the sunshine in the park and went home. And the comments are literally all... dental school is adult art class. Dental school is so glam. Medical school is where it's at. Fake doctors. Like, I wish I did dentistry. And I'm like, you need to show what is actually, when we would go to a clinic, we'd have to be sitting there for 7 hours drilling plastic teeth. We'd get our preps critiqued by someone who was like, you know, the top of their game. You made to feel like,
and yet emotionally
then you get emotionally unstable, and then you feel like crap because you've left a tiny bit of margin somewhere, or you've chipped the tooth next door on plastic teeth that you can take out of a model. Like, it's not that deep. Like, I had trauma from the way some of those tutors would be like, you've damaged the tooth next door. In real life, you'd get sued for that.
Literally.
Come on, I'm 22 years old. Like, I should be out having fun with mates. I'm here drilling teeth at 4 o'clock on a Wednesday afternoon. You know, like, I want to do this. Why, let's be constructive. So for me, I just felt like it was being glamorized. I think a lot of as well, like, I see a lot of American dental creators, and their dental school career is completely different. They do undergrad and they do dental school. Their training looks very rigorous. Yeah. But again, like, so glam. They go in like lovely fig scrubs. They look good. Come with me to the gym at 5 a.m. Then I've got dental labs. Green juice. I've got dental labs until 9 a.m. And I've got 3 composite veneer cases. I'm like, that isn't my dental school. I did not have that. You know,
Did you spend any time in America?
No, I've been a couple of times, obviously, for holidays and stuff.
No, but not in dental school.
Elective in Japan.
Oh, wow. How was that?
I loved it. I love
Japan.
I just wanted to do something, again, like, I've always been a bit of someone who wants to go against the crowd and do something different. So all my mates did South America. I was like, I'm not doing that. Let me do the most far away thing from South America I can do. So I was like, did Japan. And I loved it. Like, it was a complete culture shock, like, because it was so different to going to South America. I wanted to go to New York initially because we had links links with NYU, and I was like, I could go to NYU anytime. Yeah, Japan, I'll never get that link again after I leave uni, and it was incredible. Like, their culture there is so
What's
different.
the dental culture?
Mate, like literally surgical wisdom tooth, at the end they bow in gratefulness to thank you after you've been butchered up. They're bowing in gratefulness
But honestly,
because
it's
they're
incredible.
so polite. Like,
But you know, Japan for me really fascinated me. I went there a couple of years ago with a girlfriend, and the culture for me was so different that you feel that you're in a different universe. But as Onkar said, the respect they have for each other as human beings, whether it's fake or not, is unbelievable. And you see, as a culture, for example, you ask people for directions, we'd ask them on the tube because it's very confusing.
Yeah.
They'd get off the tube with you to direct you. And then I remember this girl was walking to us and we were like, no, thank you, we need the toilet. She was standing outside the toilet waiting for us because the service that they want to give to one another is so ingrained in them. However, you cannot tip because tipping is insulting for them. So if they accept a tip, it's really insulting. And then I came out of like Japan, and what was interesting is because they were so polite, you became so polite. And then I literally was like, I'm an massive CUNT when I come to London. I'm going to be polite. I'm going to walk people to the places, and then as soon as I hit Heathrow Airport, the first Karen that I come across
honestly,
is like literally big moving, and I'm like back into my like, no, move. Do you know what I mean? And it's really sad because it shows you that when we're kind to one another, it can be super contagious.
I think I completely agree. Like, I did that 2 weeks there, 2.5 weeks. I loved it. I then went to Hong Kong on my way back home for like a 4-day stopover. Hong Kong's like London. Like, you literally, it's like bish bash. Everyone's moving around.
Yeah,
it's fast.
move out of my way.
Move out of my way, you know. And I was like, I've come from this serenity and peacefulness in Japan. Like, their dental school was amazing. Like, we went to the factories of, like, you know, where they make GC. Like, we saw everything.
Do you think the work's superior?
Stunning. Like, some of the best work I saw was in Japan. I was in awe. I was a 4th-year dental student. Like, obviously I was in awe of everything, you know. But for me, what struck the most was that, obviously I don't understand Japanese, but even the interactions between supervisors and students, supervisors and postgrads, was lovely. Like, maybe this is me because maybe I don't understand Japanese, I don't know, but I think there's a lot of toxicity in dental school, and I will say that to you. I felt like that. I felt like it was just like a very competitive environment, regardless if people wanted to admit to the competitiveness. I sometimes felt like I've never been the person to, like, what's the word? Like, get happy or, like, you know, enjoy others' failures.
Schadenfreude.
Yeah, Schadenfreude.
Yeah.
Where you get happiness out of,
I'm not into that. Like, why are you into that? Why are you reveling in someone's sorrow? Like, that's weird. Yeah. Why are people doing that at dental school? Like, did you hear, like, you know, did you hear his root canal turned into like a filling? Why is that? Like, why do you care? Did you know that person got...
Dentists love that stuff.
Like,
dentists love doing that stuff.
I hated that. Like, I just, you know, this person's behind on their quotas. They might not graduate. It's like, why are you saying that with like a smirk? Why are we talking about things like that? Like, and I always say this, like, to dental friends especially, like, when we meet up, naturally the conversation does turn to work and teeth, but, like, can we talk about, like, also just talk about each other? How are we? How's our family and friends? How's things otherwise? But I think dental school it opened my eyes a lot to, like, just things. But yeah, Japan was the opposite to that.
But as you rose to, like, TikTok fame, were your colleagues, your dental colleagues, being a bit weird with you or a bit jealous?
What's your agenda
on TikTok? To just be real, like, just be completely real. And I think initially I wanted to be like the dentist that debunked all the myths, but I think a lot of dentists do that quite well. I think Rhona does that.
But what's the agenda?
Well.
I mean, I understand that's the tactic.
The agenda
what do you want to get out of it? Patience?
The realness.
No. I don't care for getting patients through social media. The agenda for me is to be completely genuine and share the highs and the lows and show that actually the career that we do is not always roses, and there can be crap days, and you need to take everything with a pinch of salt, because not everyone's going to leave and become a fully fledged bougie private happy dentist.
I don't know, like, Onkar, I may have got it wrong, but I think for me you are a dentist that represents someone that young dentists can relate to, giving the real stuff, you know, the real stuff, like taking away the glamour. And on top of that, I think that he provides educational information to patients as well, you know, like, so he's got two agendas.
What's in it for you though?
For me, like, I just want to share the good with the bad. I enjoy the comments from people that I like. This has been so honest. Like, when I read comments that are like,
Purpose.
this is,
Purpose.
yeah, I do feel like when people comment like, this is the realest I've ever seen a healthcare individual your age talk about things, the fact you're sharing your bad days with us, like, it makes me feel better about starting foundation training. I've just had I've had messages like, I've just had a complaint today. The fact you spoke about that.
Is there an element of you wish there was someone like that to tell you how things are, warts and all?
I think
when you were at that stage?
When I was at foundation training, I felt quite lost. I did feel like I was like, you are chucked into the deep end a little bit, aren't you?
Yeah.
And I felt like there was times when I was like, what would happen if I get a complaint, or things like that? And your mental health does kind of take you weird places. So for me, honestly, there is no agenda. It is just to be real and enjoy making real content, because you can make a lot of dental content about, turkey teeth and all of those things, but it's been done and it's done well, and I think we all share the same sentiment with those messages. But I think when you find the authentic content that works well, which is me putting my phone down and just talking like a podcast to the camera, that's been doing a lot better. I always get Karens that hate me on there, and like they think,
do you care anymore?
No. I told you earlier, like I've started replying to trolls now, right? Like
he started actually giving, and he's not even being polite to the trolls, because he just feels like, why should I allow him to
they
speak to
talk to us like that
Publicly?
So give us an example.
Or privately?
So I don't ever privately DM trolls back, because I think that's strange. But like, I've had people say like, you're fake dentist, government dentist. I've been called like,
that's hilarious.
Government dentist. Like the NHS is broken because of people like you. Like you're playing the system, and I'm like, what? Like, and then you have people being like, you work in central London, you're a private dentist, and I'm like, I'm majority NHS, like I'm a mixed associate, like what is this? Like your facts are all wrong. I had someone the other day, I literally did a video about something, and someone the other day commented something completely random, which was, funny of you to talk about this when your practice charges X for a hygiene clean. And I'm like, well, how have you like done that and that as a statement and inferred that on a video that's completely opposite?
How do you feel about private dentists talking about the NHS?
Well, this is the thing, I'm going to pick a bone with you. I'm going to pick a bone with you because I wrote out a message that I was going to send to you.
Okay.
And because a couple of people, including like some of the lovely dentists that you're friends with, were like, I'm really upset at this video. No, I'm being genuine, as in like genuine nice friends. And they were like, I feel like these dentists are talking about you. So sometimes I get sent this stuff. So yeah. I was one of, and it was amazing because I was sat next to Krupal, Krupal from Sensu, and Hanel at the Invisalign, and they literally turned around to me because they are older than me, so they're like obviously the generation above me, and they were literally like, thank you so much for what you did for the media, because I was one of the first people that wanted to shed a positive light on dentistry. Like I was working in my NHS practice in Kensington. I even contacted Payman and I was like, how do I get into media? And he was like, bless her heart, he was like, I will introduce you to Uchenna, because Uchenna was one of the only people doing it at the time. And then I did it myself, as in I was working opposite the Daily Mail because it was High Street Kensington. I started saying to journalists, I want to talk about this. I pitched the ideas, and they turned around to me and they said, no one talks about this. Like the stories about dentistry are sensationist butcher headlines, or no one. It's not. And I convinced them to write about it in a positive light. And I started all of that. And I have a massive reputation with the journalists because I spent that time grafting. I stood outside ITV this morning and I pitched my ideas. I took Amanda Turner's story and I treated her where she might have died because of the things that happened.
Yeah, agreed.
So then when they ask me to speak, and don't get me wrong, I went on Piers Morgan's show, got scrutinised by Jeremy Kyle, who turned around and basically said, we've paid for education, you're a private dentist. That's not an easy position to be in. So when I have dentists being like, you have no right to talk about the NHS, I feel it's akin to somebody saying, you're not depressed anymore, so you can't talk about depression. But I've had depression. So I have worked on the NHS. I hear what you're saying, I hear what you're saying.
I don't have a problem with it.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying, but I saw your message and I was gonna ask you, I was like, but Onkar, and I was gonna show you my point of view. Like, if you want to talk about it, go approach the media. And the thing is because why you're not working it anymore is as valid, in my opinion. Because I did 11 years. I only stopped working on the NHS in 2019.
Wait, I did 1 year of NHS.
Yeah.
I'm still allowed to talk about it. Why can't I talk about it?
My post didn't say people weren't allowed to talk about it if they didn't ever work for it. And I think I know your story well enough to know that you've done the graft. I was inferring that I think it's easy from an outside point of view to talk about things when the journey has always been, you've got time, you have not had a UDA deadline, you've not got a boss breathing down your neck being like, you're 1,000 UDAs behind, I'm going to penalize you. So my sentiment from that post was not directed at people like yourself who have done the graft. I just felt when I kept seeing things in the news and I'm like, why can't they just get like none of us, not even like anyone that's here, like a random young country village, you know what I mean? Like someone maybe who's their whole life done that sort of dentistry, who is seeing the struggle and also been through that burnout period, because we're lucky, we have social media, we have reach to an extent. You've done the graft, you've camped outside and put up the Daily Mail, but if there was someone, you know, they could approach who maybe doesn't have that, you know what I mean, that doesn't have that reach and is just done NHS their whole life. That was my sentiment, to bring someone like that onto TV to show that other side of the argument, someone who's just fed up and tired but maybe doesn't have that platform to get there. Do you know what I mean? And I would have loved to see them get like a 45-year-old Dr. Smith or anyone random. I think we're quite fortunate that we have this following. You know, Tony Kilcoyne.
He's one of the most private dentists in the country.
I mean, he's always a spokesperson.
Talking about the NHS all the time, right? Okay, he's very involved in VT and education, this, that and the other. But you know, this question of, Simon gets it as well. Simon gets on TV and people say, why are you talking about the NHS? You're not an NHS dentist. I just think... I can talk about vets if I want to talk about vets. I don't have to be a vet to talk about.
No. I think. Look, what you're saying is that we need to basically have like a balanced view, and I think that's why panel discussions are so important. You know, because you could have somebody like me or Simon or Onkar, but then like give a voice then to the other person that doesn't necessarily feel like they have a voice.
No, it's a nice idea.
And I think there is, but I think the young dentists that make like meme accounts, like ripping apart private dentists.
That's not me.
And you know, I get sent this being like, oh, are they talking about you? And I'm like, I don't even know who these people are. I am doing my job. I'm helping the public.
I put people on the podcast, on my podcast, the dental leaders, who no one's ever heard of sometimes. On purpose, because...
To give them a platform.
Well, because they tell a story that isn't a traditionally interesting story. That they've been running a practice for 10 years. No one's ever heard of them. Those stories need to be told just as much as
I agree.
The TikTok story, just as much as the Chelsea story.
Prav said to me, so Prav is my business coach, and he's also Payman's business, podcast partner. And Prav said to me that one of the most fulfilling, and you know, Prav works with very high net worth dentists, he's worked with he said one of the most fulfilling stories that he has is of a guy that sold like a one surgery practice because he was able to spend time with his family. And like, I think he sold it for like 200k or something like that, which isn't the dream for a lot of people, but he said it was the most fulfilling thing for him.
What success meant to him.
It's what success meant to him. And I think that that's the really important thing. I get worried sometimes. The one thing that I think upsets me, and I tried to do a video and it flopped on this as well, and I thought, you know what, I have to reflect on this because maybe I'm being a dick. But I basically said that it was really unfair for young dentists to get huge profiles and promote work that they don't know how to do, because I thought it was really irresponsible. So for example, promote composite bonding or like veneers that weren't their work, and they're not necessarily taking the credit for it, but they're misleading the patients, and then they build up a list of patients, and the patients walk through the door and they didn't even know how to treat the patients.
And do you mean they show other people's cases?
Exactly.
On a post.
Exactly. And they like credit it, but what I'm trying to say is
it's
that
inferred, isn't it?
What I found was there was a couple of dentists that got jobs, high jobs in like Harley Street or whatever, these like dream jobs, and the bosses were telling me, they were coming to me, be like, they don't even know how to do a veneer prep, and they have all these patients from social media that need all this complex work, but they don't even know how to do it. They don't even know how to do the basics. And I just think that sometimes your ego has let you get and you do not do this, which is great, because as I said, no, you're really great at this, but I think it can be dangerous because you're putting yourself as a professional in a difficult position.
I just think you have to be real with yourself and be honest with, you know, like, you all want to do great work and like pretty work.
Yeah.
You don't want to be doing smelly root canals, let's
Yeah,
be real,
yeah.
and bashing silver fillings in. You don't, yeah. You want white fillings, nice teeth, lovely patients who respect your opinion and your time. Yeah. That's the goal with most of our jobs. And that is what we find most dental colleagues enjoy. You know, I want my 1 hour checkup where I can actually chat to you, not 10 minutes because it's been booked in by my manager, you know. So on the flip side of that argument, I completely agree, because again, you see it time to time where you're on socials and this lovely bonding case has been done, but 3 weeks later it's chipped and someone like yourself is correcting it because the person that did it don't even understand how to manage someone's bite, you know? I think with me, like the whole social media thing, what I think is really important is, I remember when I had a first experience with like a really negative comment, and I messaged you probably don't remember this, but I had someone on Instagram message me because I was doing one of my Max Fax jobs, and I remember like at that time I'd started like doing a bit of Invisalign and just experimenting with simple cosmetic dentistry, and I was really enjoying like simple Invisalign cases. So I posted a little story. Someone messaged me from a like meme account, like a
dental one,
like a username 45222, with like a model from Google Images as their thing.
Yeah.
So I reverse image searched it, and it was a model. It wasn't them, and it was like, you should be, I literally remember this message word for word. It was like, you should be ashamed of yourself promoting COVID infection control and surgical dentistry in your day job as a dental core trainee, but doing cosmetic dentistry and non-essential work in a pandemic during the weekends. The GDC would not look favourably on this. God. I'm like, this is someone I know. This is definitely 100% someone
I've had this kind
in
of
my social circle. This is someone in the circle, someone from somewhere. So I was like, do I reply and be like, do I not reply? Do I block? And then I got another message, which was like, and also if they knew you were just the DCT one, they would never come and see you, hun, X. And then I was like, who is this? Why are you sent? And I messaged Rhona, and I remember this really clearly. I sent you a screenshot and you were like, clearly you're doing something right if you've got a hater. Yeah. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to channel that energy now, because I did nothing. I was really upset. I actually felt really worried. I was anxious at work, going into work the next week in the practice, going to hospital jobs. It was COVID. Like, COVID was a weird time for dentists, right? Like, wearing an FFP3 to do bonding, like, it seems crazy now, but back then, wearing those helmets we used to wear because we don't want to shave. And I'm like, geez, like, I had such awful comments that I actually deactivated and stuff for a bit as well. And it was like, oh, it was really, really bad, because I struggled in my second job with a lot of things in personal life and blah blah, where I just went off socials completely for 4 months, and like screen time went down to like an hour.
Did you feel better?
Yeah, I actually did.
Yeah.
And I reactivated because I was on a night out with my mates, and I think they wanted to tag me in the story, and I was like, you can tag my Dr. Onkar, like, you know, I don't need to be back on my personal account. But I reactivated, and I was like, I didn't miss this. I didn't like opening Instagram, because, you know, when you get to that 27, 28, 29, so when you get to that late 20s stage,
10 years ago,
it's
like 20,
15 for pay. You scroll, and it's like, if it's not bloody teeth or a nice bonding case, or someone's got a nice job, it's like engagement. I've bought a house, I've got a dog. And I'm like, I don't have that, or that. And I was like, this is making me feel worse about myself. I hated the job that I was in at that time. And I also hated everyone on social media at that time. So I deactivated. It was the best thing I ever did.
Yeah, I mean, and look, I guess, like, in a way, you've channeled your own thing, because you've brought realness, and people want to see realness. Dr. Aram, who's my root canal specialist, he absolutely hates Instagram engagements, you know, when like the photographer's there and they're like, I'm so surprised, but why is the photographer there? Do you know what I mean? Kind of thing. So he sent me this like meme that basically was like saying about this, like, about how fake all of this stuff was. And the thing is I think we've got to remember that, and like the smile designs and everything, like, I'm not going to show my dental clinical failures because I don't want to scare patients, right? But if we were real, you know, we get them all the time. Like you've said many times, which has stuck with me, dentistry is a job where the work, we can guarantee one thing, it will fail. Eventually it will fail. You know, and that's quite a scary thought, you know, to know that nothing that you do actually stays permanently. So
what do you think is the reason that dentists kill themselves?
Number one, I've actually thought about this before. Number one, probably a high pressured environment. That's definitely number one. And number two is expectations. I think expectations, whether it's you on yourself, so personal, or whether it's second party, so patients, your nurse, your manager, your principal, whatever that may be, okay, whether you're a practice owner, expectations on yourself. Number 3, I think the number 3 would be there's always going to be a point, I think, where dentists, medical, whatever industry, you're a high achiever. You've always been a high achiever, right? There's going to be a point where you flop. At some point, there's always going to be a point. No one's trajectory is always going to be like that, I personally think, yeah? So I think there's a point when this happens, in some cases...
Yeah, but why dentists specifically? I mean, why not brain surgeons?
High pressure.
But do brain surgeons not have high pressure?
They do. They definitely do. The nature of the beast with dentistry may also be the fact that it's so litigious and like so many complaints, and that complaints...
More than medicine, by the
more
way.
than
Yeah, but obs and gynae, they're not killing themselves. The thing is, I think maybe...
What do you think?
Also, the patient is awake all the time.
That issue.
Brain surgeon, they're
You're
asleep.
knocked out. Yeah.
It's a big difference. You know, that when you're saying high pressure,
I think,
that, you know, I can say brain surgeon.
More pressure, probably.
But
100, definitely.
No, but in a way, a live patient,
yeah,
you're constantly on tenterhooks. And
Yeah.
I know we get used to it, and you're not on tenterhooks every time you're doing an examination, But every time you give an injection, how many times a day you do that?
Yeah.
Every time you do
and they're
anything.
flinching and they're saying, I hate this. And
I hate a dentist.
Yeah.
I think a combination of that and 4 walls.
Yeah.
You know, brain surgeons in the hospital,
And then
loads of people.
it gets monotonous, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When was your mental health the worst?
2022.
Why?
So I was working a job that, like, I personally didn't want to do, to be completely honest, but I did it because I had no other offers in the bag. So it was still like another hospital job. And it was just, like, horrific. I didn't want to be there. I don't think they wanted me there. Like, I felt like... I was really close with my grandma, and she had passed away like 3 weeks prior to... No, 3 weeks. She literally passed away the day I started that job. So, like, I was very close with her. She died on my birthday. So it was so
sorry.
Yeah, so it was like, I started that job 2nd of September. That evening, the next day was my birthday. I started this new job. I didn't want to do that job. Anyway, that all happened in the back. There was no... I didn't feel like there was any work support, if I can say that. Like, I was given like a day off, and they were like, have a day off and come back on Monday and you can help in the general anesthetic wisdom tooth list. And I'm like, what? Like, I've had this thing happen to me. I'm quite traumatized here. Like, you know, I lost grandparents, but I was 6 or 7, like not 27. You know, you process things a lot more when you're older, and you know, almost I was her carer at times. You know, I was always there, and then that was awful.
What did it mean to your life? I mean, how did you feel?
I just, you know, I think, like, for me, when I was, like, obviously now 27, and I think you see, like, almost the senior of the family or whatever it may be, and they're reduced to this little person in a hospital bed. I hadn't seen that before. You know, I'd worked hospital jobs, I'd done max fax, oral surgery, all these things, but when it's very easy to detach at work. When, you know, you're the person giving the care, there is that element of detachment. When it's family and you're helpless, very different, you know. And when it's end of life care, that's also quite stressful to go and see. And I think, you know, regardless of what we may do at work, it is stressful. But then, you know, you come and see this and your home situation is now just as stressful. There was no sort of way for me to have a break anywhere. It was awful both times, you know, everywhere. And it was just a lot going on. And I felt like I was in that job. I got a lot of sort of, you know, energy like that was just not supportive of me at that time. I told them, you know, when I started that job, like, I want to maybe do medicine, go the whole hog, become a head and neck surgeon, or just do all surgery and implants and become a specialist. I'm in that kind of unit, right? No support. Like, the first thing I got told was like, we don't like London graduates. Like,
really?
Yeah. They're like, why have you come from London to this hospital? And I, like, you know, I was like, what? Like, it's a 20-minute drive from my house. Like, I ranked this job quite high. And then there's all these things of hospital politics.
Hospital is politics.
But then what? How did you
it never changed.
What were your symptoms sort of thing?
So definitely was a very, very anxious boy, more so than normal. Baseline anxiety with me I was talking about this recently on TikTok. Like, it was my 5th year of dental school, I first felt anxious. Like, I would always have anxiety for certain things, like at uni when you've got a difficult procedure, like you feel like butterflies, but never like the room is closing in on me. So it was in my 5th year of dental school. I know, like, we literally had a couple of exams for end of years pending, and it was all that DFT recruitment process, and there was like a lot going on my plate, and it was a random day in December. I was at home revising for exams, literally went for a haircut. I was in the barber's chair, so you can't escape, right? You're tied up, he's cutting my hair, and the room just started closing and it was going black, and I was like, I couldn't breathe. And I was like, I told my barber, I was like, I need to get up.
Panic attack.
Like, I'd never had that before. So it was, and I've read a lot of, I love psychology. That was another thing I was always interested in, was psychiatry. So that was going to be my medicine route, that, or like something,
Did you recognise it for what it was at the time? Or did
that's so progressive.
I thought it was a hypo because I hadn't eaten all day. So initially I was like, am I just having a hypo? Like, it was a panic attack, sweating, grey, room closing in.
Then what? When you left the barber, what happened?
I went outside to get fresh air, and then I went back in the chair because he was like, you look grey.
Oh, well, yeah.
He was like, go outside, get some fresh air. He gave me some chocolates, and he was like, is it your sugar levels? I don't know. He's like, you're the dental student. I was like, I don't know. And then I went back in. He started cutting my hair again. It happened again. So the room started closing in again. I was like, I need to just get through this appointment, yeah? So had 2 weeks off for Christmas, which was, thank God. Went back to uni. Room started closing in. I'm like, why is this happening? I can't identify why I'm anxious. I was detached. I felt like I was observing myself from an outsider's body. Like I was floating and I was watching myself do procedures, and I would literally be like, I don't understand this. I was getting sweaty. I remember like palpitations. I'm a very chill person prior to this, yeah? Like resting heart rate 48 beats per minute. Like I'm not an athlete, but I'm always super chill. Nothing makes me nervous. I was so on edge. I couldn't go to honestly, looking back on it now, it was quite bad. I couldn't go to the supermarket. I couldn't go and walk in the aisles because they would start closing in. And I remember going in my 5th year to get coffee on a Saturday at my flat. I lived in Catford in Lewisham because it was between both hospitals for Kings and Guys. And my flatmate had gone and I was home alone at the flat, and I went to get lunch and a coffee. I was in Subway buying a sandwich. I had to leave. I couldn't do the order. I actually had to stop them doing the order. I was like, I need to go. I left. And I was like, I don't know what to do. Like I tried everything. Self-help books. I tried taking magnesium supplements. I tried running more. And I was like, nothing is happening. Like nothing is helping me. I went to the GP. I spoke to the GP, and the GP was like, you don't strike me as anxious. I'm like, why are you saying that as a GP? Like, why? That's not helpful. They basically were like, do you want talking therapy? What do you think you actually want? I'm like, I just want answers, to be honest, because, you know, I think people will deep dive into your childhood and be like, you know, Freudian theory, like, tell me where you had a bad time, you know? I'm like, I can't really acknowledge any of that from the 5 years of, like, the uni experience. I don't know why that happened in my uni experience. Up to then, it was fine. My A-levels didn't shake me that much, yeah? I managed to get through it, and I put it down to exam stress and life stress and uncertainty of not knowing where I was going to end up, having about 20 exams in the space of like 3 months with finals of dental school, and just putting a lot of pressure on myself because uni in that 5th year, again, I started YouTube. It was actually like I started YouTube. I remember I tried to start YouTube because YouTube was really hot then, right? So I tried to start a vlogging channel. Again, I did one video. Rhona, I did one video. It was up for 12 hours. Someone in my year messaged me and was like, just to let you know, there's been talk about your video. One of the nurses has seen it, so you might want to put the video down. Next day I get called in and like again, email being like, the subject title is your progression in dental school. And I'm like, I've got 4 months to graduate, yeah? So January is the email. We finished dental school in May, graduated in June. So that was another thing. In January, in that same awful time, I've got this email from the dean of dental school. Then they were like, you can't do that. You're not allowed to do. And that was another thing that made me do this YouTube glamorizing dental school on TikTok, because everyone is now a dental school influencer and they post the unis they go to. You can see the scrubs they wear. You can see the sign of what uni they're at. Why was it such a big issue for me to say I go to Guy's Hospital?
Well, back then it was less normal.
2019 it was, you know, and like.
But I don't think they are still allowed. And like again, like I think that's the conflict I've always had with dental school, because As I said to you, I was good at English literature, philosophy and drama. I was my outlet. I still go to the theatre every single month because guess what? Acting for me, I want to start improv this year.
Yeah.
I miss acting. So social media was my outlet because it was my creative spark. And then you go to dental school, you can't do this, you can't wear that. I get it. We need to be professionals. I get it. But for me, like, there is just like, can we not be humans?
But why
can we not be humans?
Why can't I wear white trainers though?
Yeah.
If I'm wearing smart trousers, why can't I wear white trainers? Like, why do I need to wear black shoes with buckles on them? Like, I get it completely, but also it doesn't affect my ability to be nice to my patients. That is another scrap I had a lot with dental school. I was like, why are you telling me that I can't?
I'm pretty sure in uni they also told us we're not allowed visible tattoos.
Yeah, not allowed tattoos.
Yeah, visible tattoos.
Not allowed tattoos, not allowed piercings. The boys can't have, like, you know, beards. And I was like, this is weird. This is really weird. Like, I don't get it, you know, and I'm quite an expressive person.
Do you think there is a line?
I think, like, listen.
Like, what would be your red line?
I think, right, at the end of the day, if you are being treated by a professional person, and a professional person is someone that you trust, there is a degree of you somewhat judging the way that they look and what they present.
Okay.
Would you agree?
I think... I don't know, because for me...
What would be your red line if you went to visit
so for example, I saw... Did you see that TikTok video of that girl that had a devil's tattoo here, and the devil's tattoo had, like, blood, and I think there was, like, animals dying. She was covered in tattoos and piercing, and she was like, I went to TK Maxx rejected me. And the reason why TK Maxx rejected me was clearly because of my tattoos, and this is like a judgment. But, like, you look a bit scary. Like, if you're going to be, like, attending people, like, customers are going to be affected.
Okay, I'm going to tell you something that I did.
Tell us.
Regarding tattoos. Not did, but felt. If someone would come for an interview at Enlighten with a tattoo that you couldn't easily hide,
you wouldn't.
I would question their judgment.
On that tattoo, or just their general
judgment in general.
Okay.
Because if you're putting a tattoo somewhere where you can't hide it, like here, on your...
oh my God, I'd love hand tattoos. I'd love it.
Yeah, but see, now they're much more normalised. But, you know, maybe...
10 years ago.
15 years ago.
Yeah.
If I could see tattoos that you couldn't hide at all, impossible to hide,
All right, I've got a question
side of your neck, I would question that person's judgment.
If you saw a psychiatrist and they were covered in tattoos from, like... here to, like, here, for example, and piercings, how would you feel?
Like, I think the question to hit you back with is, do they make me feel good? Do they answer my clinical questions? Do I feel safe?
So you wouldn't judge at all?
No, not really. I don't really care.
I've changed my position on tattoos. Like, you know, they're just everywhere.
If
I mean, look at my piercings and I've got 7 tattoos. Do you know what I mean?
If I go to someone for, like, regardless of their job role, if someone's doing a good job and they're taking care of their clients or patients or whatever... I'm not really... My opinion is minuscule, you know?
Okay, I agree completely, but also I totally agree with you on the thing of, like, appearance. And if you come to my clinic, it was funny.
Diversity central.
I mean, that's how I've told you. It's literally...
I've seen your team.
The thing is, like, I've been called in. People want to do television programs about my clinic because they were like, oh my God, like, you are literally LGBTQT, like, body sizes. Because I have always judged every single one of my staff based on their merit and based on, like, how they treat patients. And it works really well because my team is so diverse. Now, the one thing that I would say is that I think there's an important question to be posed for presentation, right? And what I mean by that is somebody that's at least clean, because I think that that's a form of self-love and self-care. Like, you know, that you've showered and you've brushed your hair, for example. I think those things do matter because it also shows how the person is feeling about themselves and their own kind of sign of, like, self-respect, their mental state of mind. Can they look after other people? Do you see what I mean? That's what I think that I draw the line. If I don't know if you agree.
Personal hygiene.
Yeah,
I think that's pretty important though.
Yeah.
I think so.
I mean, it even comes up in marketing, right? When we're doing these pictures, the last evolution, we said, let's not have pretty people. Let's have people who are just
normal.
Let's have normal people.
Real people. Let's not even have pretty smiles. Let's have diastemas, right? And let's have
diastemas are cool, man.
I love a diastema.
Let's have tattoos. Yet when we went into it, we lost our bottle and we thought, what's our distributor in Kuwait gonna say?
Yeah, you have to take cultural... No, I completely agree.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think Gen Z are really challenging the norms, which is great. But Onkar, how did you get out of this mental state of the panic attacks?
I think for me, like, I'll be honest, when I finished dental school and I was away from that pressure situation of constant exams, they fizzled away themselves.
So you didn't go on medication?
I didn't go on meds. I looked at what I was doing, which was behavioural, a lot of caffeine. Like, I drink like 4, 5, 6 coffees a day. I'm pretty bad for it. Yeah, and I was still doing that in uni. Fizzy drinks containing caffeine, all of these things that were like, you know, stimulants. You're trying to think, what is making me feel worse? So cut out caffeine, cut out all of that. Tried to be a lot better with things. Took up a lot more exercise, which doesn't work for everyone. Yeah, I read a lot of anxiety psychology books as well, like a lot of sort of mind books to feel better. And I started ashwagandha.
Yeah,
and
I've heard that really helps.
I've been on and off that for about 4 years now.
What is it?
Ashwagandha.
It's the natural supplement, which basically...
It's massive in Ayurvedic practice.
It reduces, mistake me if I'm incorrect, it reduces your stress response to little stressors. So like your baseline and it's like essentially keeping you at a good baseline where you don't have all those cortisol spikes. You're not meant to be, it's a nootropic, whatever you call it. You don't want to be on it forever. You need to take breaks. So like, this is not clinical advice, but like, you know, month off, month on, blah blah blah, you know, and that really helped me, along with magnesium, good sleep. But then they bloody started again in 2022 when I started that awful job. And then that was again like, oh my god, like where do we go from here, you know? Like driving and having panic attacks. I've never been medicated. I think would I like a formal diagnosis of something? I think does it help people? We had this discussion earlier. Do formal diagnoses help people? Sometimes I think they do.
I think the ADHD thing did help me because I think the like erraticness and everything that I've been experiencing, but the problem is I've not worked out. I found it empowering to know that, but I've not worked out and I'm not in a position where I want to take medication.
Yes,
so I think that I'm finding it really hard to manage, but I spend thousands on my mental health, like literally thousands. And obviously doing this podcast in a way has also helped because even by connecting with people and understanding we're all connected is super helpful. Onkar, I could talk for hours. You have been amazing at this podcast. Like, thank you. And what does the future hold? So where would you like to be in 5 years?
I think 5 years is probably maybe finding the agenda. Finding the why is really important, I think. I still feel like I probably don't know my why completely, all right? And I think that's natural. And I think we need to take that idea of everyone knows their why straight away. That's not true, okay? Maybe not for me. I'd like to continue just being happy in work, whether that involves teeth or not, who knows, yeah? But I want to just develop to a point where I may be really rose-tinted. I go into work every day and I'm looking forward to it. Do you know what I mean?
And you're not at the minute.
There's times when I'm not, no. If I'm being real, there's times I'm not. I know like 35 patients a day where I'm like 10-minute checkups. I'm not looking forward to that. I've got start at work at 8 o'clock till doing notes.
Yeah.
I want to just be happy and I want to make sure that regardless of whatever's going on in personal life, that career is always, and I think it sounds again really idealistic. Some people are lucky enough to have, you know, their job be their break time. You go to work, you can kind of zone out. You love that. I'd like to get there in 5 years. I'm hoping that kind of comes to fruition. So yeah.
Amazing. Thank you so much for coming on My Movers.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you.
Bye.